names that you'll recognize. So you know how this works with me. I'm going to ask some questions first, and then we'll roll it out to you all. And our other guests will be arriving shortly.
I'll keep two. I would like you to think that would make me feel more comfortable.
She likes 2 mics! A couple of you homies got that.
Yeah, you can eat the microphone. It's all good.
Okay, I think we all got it. We're all adults. Some of us, except for me.
What did I just walk into?
It's chaos. I don't know what happened. He just took the mic and came in, and it was just over.
In full disclosure, I am like fucking 12. I'll be honest.
It's true.
I can't.
Who was here many years ago when we had Corey Feldman, and this gentleman just kept the entire room entertained while we were waiting for him to show up? It was like the Flannery show. It was hilarious, and you just got a taste of it. And you'll get more of it tomorrow when it's just him on stage, which, you know, will be boring.
You guys need to lighten up a little bit. Yeah, you need a little energy.
Okay, on 3, everybody, pants off. Look, dude back there did it. Holy shit. Look, every motherfucker turned around, you horny fuck. Nobody took their pants off, but you fucks were like, I didn't do it. Like, whoa. I'm on to y'all fucks.
So I'm going to start with a question for all 3 of you. When was the moment that you realized that the Saw franchise had like become this monolithic, great, legendary series where it's on par with like Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street? It has come into its own, and it is now a mythic legend.
Well, I had a vision early on, actually. I was one of the first. Did you ever see The Short before you got involved? Yeah, I actually saw like a 15-minute short. Have you guys seen it yet? You must have seen it, right? You guys like the, no? Anyway, there was a short that my manager got to me and was just like, I think we're gonna make this movie, and like it was just the idea. I was like, wow, that sounds really cool. Yes, I definitely want to be a part of it. And then the script came out, and it was like here, and with Danny Glover, and
What was the short?
The short was Saw. It was
Yeah, it was Lee and I guess Marcus. And they made a little. Was it Marcus?
No.
Lee. Yeah.
Talking about Mark Gray?
To get the money.
Yeah. It was just short.
I don't know.
But it was really creepy, and I was like, that's gonna be awesome.
It's the thing that made Mark Berg and Oren Koulis and Greg Hoffman put in money, their own money.
Yeah.
They put in like, I don't know, what did it cost, $1 million to make that film?
Something like
Yeah,
that.
so you guys know this probably, but they put in their own money. That's a huge thing to do, by the way. I have done that.
I wish I did it on this.
No, I put my own money into a film, and it was a very bad thing to do. I'll never do it again.
You'll never see that money again.
I did in deductions and lawsuits. Thank you very much.
I put things into things that were bad.
That were bad decisions, but it seemed like a good idea at the time, I'll bet.
Yeah, it's just a fluky kind of a thing where Mark and Oren and Greg got real lucky. But you know what? They had experience. Mark had experience because I think he was head of production at Paramount or head of physical production at Paramount for a number of years before he broke off and formed Evolution and started throwing his own money at things. But that's how you get really successful. If something like that hits, boy oh boy, and it hit for them. So.
Yeah, I mean, the first one was it was amazing. I kind of knew it was going to be enormous. After I saw it, you guys are really, come on, a little bit of energy, please.
Well, I think I know something that might get him a little more upbeat here. Welcome to the stage, the man who wants you to play a game, Mr. Tobin Bell. Yay! Awesome. Well,
Sorry we're late, we were playing the game. And now you need some water. Oh, no. I feel like that's happened before, so I wonder if your mic didn't work. Or you didn't have one at all.
It's a blessing when you have no mic, then you have to just let them handle it.
so we've just been talking about the moment that the three of them realized this was going to be one of the biggest franchises on the mythic level of, like, you know, the legendaries, like Friday the 13th and Nightmare on Elm Street. What moment really made you realize this is going to be that big, like it's going to be this franchise?
I was working on a series for NBC. I was in Prague in the Czech Republic, and they sent me a script for Saw 2. And that's when I knew I was going to be able to develop this guy who was lying on the floor in Saw 1 and develop his story in some way. And so after I read that script, I knew we were going to go forward, and then I ended up being cast with Donnie Wahlberg, and Donnie was a big contributor to those scenes. I think there were 7 of them where he would come in and talk to me at the table and then leave again and then come back, and Dina was keeping company in the camera room, the monitor room. So,
Company.
yeah, Saw 2 was a lot of fun in that way, because you got to see a little more about what was on John's mind.
So, Shadi, Amanda is one of the few horror icons that is a female, that you know, and the list is growing these days, but you really kind of knocked it out of the park with her, with this character that kept coming back. Can you talk about creating this female icon and then seeing how women are really coming into their own in the horror genre, even more and more?
It's funny because what occurs to me is, like, you know, this like woman power and female power. Well, Saw 2 really, the character developed just kind of like out of necessity. Like Saw 2, I realized I was pregnant right before the movie started, so I said, well, I don't want to tell him because I want to play this part. And I don't know, like, how my body's going to change over the next few months. So let's see, the only person I told was the costumer. I said, what can we do to kind of hide my body a little? Yes, we'll do like baggy pants, and like maybe I was at a hospital and we'll like tape these down and like go asexual, you know? And it ended up being a real, you know, Captain Hindsight. That'd be a cool superhero. Looking back, it looks as if there was this, it was thought out, you know, like, but it's almost like it kind of had a life of its own. And it ended up being really cool, you know, to take that arc, and it ended up contributing to, like, creating the character. But really just came out of, like, a mother's necessity to keep working to support the kid that was growing in her. You know, there's some female power for you. It's funny. That's kind of the beauty of females. And what I do love about this was the male and female, which, funny enough, is in the Blob, too. I just watched that recently they got a Blu-ray coming out, and so I did a commentary. And I thought the relationship with Kevin Dillon and, you know, that reminded me a little of their relationship, because it's this nice blend of the male and female, which to me is, like, that's very powerful.
When they work together.
Yeah. You know? Does that answer your question?
It did.
Okay, good job.
So, Tobin, the one I have, and you've spoken about this some in the past, but I really wanted to ask you about it, was this franchise, while it was considered torture porn by a lot of people, your character in John's journey and the reason and the morality behind it was such a fascinating part of the story and really made it stand out. Can you talk about creating that backstory and that character's arc and why he was doing what he was doing as part of the process of making the films?
The seeds were, can you hear in the back? Yeah. The seeds were planted by James Wan and Lee Whannell. They talked about things in Saw 1 that we never gave up on, like the treatment of the terminally ill by the medical community and insurance companies, and which we were able to pick up on in Saw 6, I think it was. Appreciating your life. I mean, that was in Saw 1 as well. We just kind of developed things that Lee and James had planted seeds for. Writers often have ideas for things that they kind of drop in, but they don't quite know how to develop it or choose not to. But sometimes actors can take things, can help the writer find a way to expand on an idea that the writer has but doesn't quite know how to get there. And that's been one of the great things about Saw, that we've been working with actors and directors and producers who were open to ideas and open to expressing them in certain kinds of ways. So it's been a really great group in that way. Films are put together in pieces, and when Shawnee was talking about Saw 2, my experience with Saw 2 was completely different than Shawnee's in some way, because it was like when she started talking about it, when I talked to you about Saw 2, I was talking about Donnie Wahlberg and the scenes in John's house or his kitchen, which was really a freight elevator. But Shawnee, then there's what's going on in the house. I paid no attention to what the hell was going on in the house. I had my hands full just connecting with Donnie in that room and working those scenes out with him. So movie making is amazing in that way, because sometimes you run a film with an actor and you don't even work with them. You don't get to know them, and other times you get to know actors intimately.
So it's kind of interesting insight there that you have, because it's the director and the editors that kind of are able to bring that all together and make it cohesive, because that makes this flow. And these films are so intricate because there's so many time jumps and differences, but it flows perfectly when it all comes together like the puzzle that it is.
Yeah, that's true. We expanded on ideas, that the ideas were there. I remember talking about Darwin's trip to the Galapagos in Saw 2 and survival of the fittest, and that sort of idea. So we would just we'd take a little germ of something and try and expand on it without it getting too complicated or expository.
I still got the Darwin book you gave me in Saw 3.
Yeah.
You signed me a copy of the Darwin.
Darwin wrote a book called Origin of Species, which
I hope he doesn't expect me to read it.
I gave her a copy. I saw 3. It's like this thick.
Awesome. Well, guys, I'm going to pass it out to the audience, and I think I'm going to go grab another mic, and then I'll be out for a minute.
I have a question for the translator. Sir? Oh, tired after Henry Rollins last night? I was feeling for you guys the whole time. I was like, they're gonna finish this meal. That was amazing. You guys were amazing last night.
All right, you guys, raise your hands high, and I will come to you.
Hello.
Right over here. I'll get to you, I promise. Because she's here for life here.
Hi. I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Did you guys ever think that it would be as big as it is? Like, how do you feel about it? Because, I mean, we're all here for you, and this is like a dream come true for me. Oh, hi.
Well, since I came on 7 and the first 6 were success, I fucking knew. Right before we even started shooting, Mark said, I'm like, this is gonna fucking come out in 2,000 theaters, mark my word. And I was right.
Great.
My question's for Tobin. On some of those scenes that you created the traps for, what were your favorite ones that you designed in the movie series?
I had absolutely nothing to do with the traps.
That sounds odd.
But I do have people ask me that all the time, what's your favorite trap? And attaching the word favorite to those traps just doesn't work for me. But one of them that has come to me recently, and I kind of forgot about, is the one that Scott was in. The water trap where his head is in a box and he has to trach himself. And because watching that and watching what the actor had to go through, I'm talking about you like you're not sitting right here, it was just amazing because he actually had to do it and trust that the people around him knew what they were doing.
So, thank you. It's great seeing you, by the way. It's been too long. I've never been more nervous to come to set. To be honest with you, and I don't get nervous coming to work because I'm so happy to come to work, but that trap, when I walked in and I saw that thing and the water tanks attached, and that I was going to go in and there was a rubber thing and there was a safety guy here and a safety guy there, sorry.
It's back.
I was truly, truly, truly nervous. And then when they put me in the thing, and then, you know, they rehearse the thing without the water, and then, don't worry, if you can't breathe, the thing's gonna open you, they're gonna get you out of there. And I'm like, aren't they really? Because it felt pretty tight around my neck. So you do have to trust. And the first couple, when it starts filling up, first 2 or 3, I started to drown in there because my nose was not plugged up. So they thought of everything except for that. And I'd give them the sign like, I'm out, and then the water would disappear very quickly, would drop out. And I said, guys, let's plug my nose up. Because I'd like to survive today. And maybe they didn't really care about that, but that was the point. But that worked.
Just can't think of everything. You know? Every time my mother leaves the house with her kids, she gets 10 minutes and goes, can't think of everything.
Right. Yeah, we just didn't think of that. And the memorial service will be next week. But that gave me the confidence. Once they put it was a kind of waxy substance they put in my nose. It really blocked it up, and you couldn't see it. But that gave me all the confidence in the world, because I grew up swimming. I'm a good swimmer. I can stay underwater for a couple of minutes. It's not a problem. So as we were as I got the confidence that that I was not gonna drown, we could film for, you know, I mean, in that excited state for about a minute. I think I was under there a minute thrashing around, doing the whole overacting thing. But it was really kind of exhilarating and scary, and the trick thing, just I think I heard a couple of fans come to the table and said that Strom's such a badass for doing that. So I never quite thought of it that way, but it was, you know, thank you for that. But yeah, so there you go.
All righty, we got one right over here.
This message is for Tobin. I just wanted to ask, in the Jigsaw movie, John Kramer revealed his identity during the shotgun trap with Anna and Ryan. Was he comfortable in, you know, revealing his identity because he knew they were going to kill each other, or was that like maybe a mistake by John?
Would you say it again more slowly?
During the shotgun trap with
During the what trap?
the shotgun trap in Jigsaw,
Yeah, okay.
with Ryan and Anna, he revealed his identity. I just wanted to know if that was a mistake, or was he comfortable, you know, with them, comfortable in the fact that they were going to kill each other, and his identity wasn't going to be revealed.
You're talking about the scene with Costas, with the shotgun?
No, in Jigsaw, in the most recent film.
Oh, that shotgun trap.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
Ryan and Anna.
Shotgun trap number 26, yeah.
Because he revealed his identity, so I just wanted to know if they were.
Was I comfortable what?
Or if, you know,
Yeah.
Ryan and Anna, was he comfortable in the fact that they were going to kill each other? And that's why he revealed his identity. And he was fine with it.
I think John anticipates that they had an opportunity there. The opportunity was that they would cooperate. But he knows what human beings tend to do when it's me or you, or either or, which is what gets set up there. And the character played by Laura Vandervoort goes immediately to competition rather than cooperation, and assumes that if she doesn't kill him, that he'll kill her. And whereas if they had cooperated, the door was right there, the key was right there. So John always gives people the opportunity to save themselves if they look at their own instincts closely. They have a greater chance to do that. But it's tricky.
You didn't let me fucking save myself.
I saved myself.
Maybe I didn't figure it out.
How did you die? I didn't see it. All right, I kind of stumped that with you. I couldn't see all of them.
How you doing?
Hi.
How's Daniel doing today?
Hi there.
Okay, so I have two questions. First of all, my question goes to the lady right here.
This one?
Yes,
Oh,
you.
hi.
Hi. So, in the first episode of scene 1, where in Saw, when you were, I'm not sure if it was you or your character, but there was a guy, two guys, and then above the, there was like 3 Saws, but there was like 2 guys, and I guess it was you? They were arguing about which one should live and which one was playing the other guy in Jigsaw. So I was trying, because he said one of the guys had to die, but instead of the guys dying in Jigsaw, it was the female that died. I wanted to know, what was your reaction when you played that role, or if you even played that role at all?
Yes.
Could you repeat that?
So,
Which Saw movie are you referring to?
The first episode of the first scene? I don't know which one that is.
the very first one, the first one.
Okay, the
That's
first
Saw 1, yeah.
Gary Owens, yeah? And Danny Glover.
Yes.
Okay.
When the guys were on the opposite side of the saw, and they had to push the saw, and the girl was talking to them about,
Are you sure this was me? What are you talking about? Because I don't really have any recollection of this.
I know. Yes, ma'am. I'm pretty sure I know my Saw movies.
Oh, I'm just wondering if
All I heard was a zip and a lob.
I don't remember this scene. You know your movies a lot better than I know, for sure. I haven't seen Saw 1 in a very long time. I wasn't dangling in Saw 1. I was investigating the crime. I was the cop.
She's the badass cop.
I'm Detective
murder.
Not her. I don't think I am. Who do you think I am?
I saw it, homie. She was dangling. She's a dangler. Danglers don't like to admit it.
I mean, I've dangled in 3. But yes, you said you know your Saw movies. Thank you.
I'm sorry about that.
Apologize? What?
I was cool. I'm sorry. Sorry, no.
Okay, so we good.
I'm autistic, so you gotta.
Oh,
yeah.
sorry. Okay.
And then I wanted to know, what was you, when you was in the what was your reaction? Like,
When I was dangling? What was my reaction when I was
like, was you nervous at all?
to dangle? It's not
She's
that
nervous
hard.
right now.
I'm more nervous now. I think I'm the most nervous I've ever been, quite frankly.
He's not,
No,
that's not
here's
him.
the thing.
He didn't write the movie.
I can let you know a little secret. I wasn't really dangling at all. No, I wasn't. What I want to tell you is that they actually had me propped up I was sitting on a bike seat in the trap. So I can show you a picture, but no, seriously, they didn't really have me all, strapped in. I mean, I was literally just kind of straddling as opposed to dangling. Well, what?
It's true.
It's a known condition. It's called dangler's denial.
All right, so we have one more, another question over here.
Let's talk about it afterwards. You and me. We'll take it outside.
My question is, what's your favorite death trap?
All right. Let's bring it.
Anybody favorite death trap?
Mine.
I apologize again for that death. It was pretty gruesome.
Yeah. Your fault. So sorry.
This is the #1 question that gets asked about this film. Is that there's 2 #1 questions. One is, what's your favorite death trap? Second is, did you know Saw was going to become 8 movies or 9 movies or whatever? So those are the 2 most answered questions. I already answered that the one with Scott was amazing. But another one that's come to my mind recently is the one where Detective Hoffman ends up in this glass, is in this glass box, and I think it's when Scott gets crushed by the walls. That one is quite an accomplishment, we'll call it. I think that one's pretty amazing. So that's the answer to your question.
We got one over here. You want to stand up? She's got a very cute bow with Billy on it.
Hi. So I've watched each of these movies like between 4 and 14 times. My question is a yes or no for each of you. Do you feel, yes or no, like you understand the timeline of all of the movies? 100%.
I'll start, no.
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 No. Sean does. He's the only one.
I know she was fucking dangling.
He would go.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Well, thanks for your guys' performance in all the movies. Loved it all. But first off, John has to have the most, like, recorder, tape, and things, and anybody in, like, the history of tape recorders. I mean, they're, like, all over the place. I can't believe how many there were. But anyway, has did the movie change you at all? I mean, the way that you acted as Jigsaw, it kind of just, does it kind of get to you at all? After all the times you had to say like lines for them, and the things you had to say and do, and then also, and for everybody else, has there ever been a role that you guys have had that changed you?
John is, no, it hasn't changed. It has definitely changed the level of my exposure as an actor. More people know me and a lot for the Saw films, so that has been an effect. But as far as changing who I am, John is a very technical person. His training is as a mechanical engineer. He thinks very specifically, and so do I. So those elements marry for me. And so when I approach this playing John, I approached him really in terms of like, what does he mean by that? And what's his objective here? What's he trying to accomplish? And how did he arrive at that? Where I work is way more in the psychological and emotional part of that character than in terms of what you might call gore. Fortunately, I haven't had to be present, with a couple of exceptions, at a lot of the bloody events that happen in the film. So I don't have a lot of that imagery in my insides. You know, I didn't have to be there. You know, I'm not there with a knife stabbing it into people and doing that sort of thing. I try to contribute what actors are supposed to contribute, which is to try and bring some sense of humanity to the character. And anybody can play a scary guy. I mean, pretty much anybody. And so maybe what makes him more scary or more interesting in some way is because he doesn't go necessarily in that direction, but tries to give it some sort of foundation, some sort of raison d'etre. And if even for a moment, you can say, oh, I understand what he's getting at, what he's talking about, where he's coming from, then that adds something to all of the scares, all of the twists and turns, all of the frightening moments. It's another level. And so I do that with whether I'm playing an astronaut or a cowboy or a lawyer or an FBI agent or John Kramer. Doesn't matter. You have to know all of those things. And I'm not thinking about the result, you know, which in this case ends up in a house or in a room somewhere or in a dungeon or a basement. I'm thinking about him and where he's coming from. And that's what actors do. They bring humanity to characters.
Okay, so why you're all sitting here and why this series is so successful, this franchise is so successful, is because this man invested his humanity into that character. And I was making this point to some people earlier that came to my table, why they thought I think the franchise works so well, beyond the traps and the gore and all that stuff, which is important. But if you don't have Tobin in that central role, and here's the main point, he never acted one time. And I watch, because I wanted to decide whether I wanted to do this when they offered 4 to me, and 5 and 6. He never once acted like he was in a horror film. And you can't fall into that trap, no pun intended. Because if you're so aware that you're in a horror film, when you're in a horror film, you're not acting. So he's playing the reality of what they're giving him, and that belief, that core belief in that character, and his humanity, and his love, and his passion, and his need to mete out justice. Even if it's sick, he believes it. And that's why the series is so successful. This man. One of the great privileges I had was working a scene with Tobin, he was dead. And I did a scene with his voice on a tape recorder with his body behind me. And he still had weight. I mean, it's incredible. I read about the actress who played, who was the actress that played that girl in the Clint Eastwood directed film with Mark Wahlberg and, what is that movie? Mark Wahlberg played the father of a girl who was murdered, his young daughter was murdered in Boston by these 2 young boys. What's that film?
Mystic River.
Mystic River, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, Sean Penn, not Mark Wahlberg, Sean Penn. The short little movie stars, I confuse them all. But she commented she was dead and she felt the power of what he was going through as a father, because he felt what she was doing as a dead body. Okay? I mean, there's actually something to do there. And I felt it coming out of him, so. Right, exactly.
All right, we got one over here.
Hi guys. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate it.
Thank all of you for coming.
This question's for Scott. Did you enjoy working in such a horror movie, or sorry, in such a gore-filled movie, considering that you worked at Little Girls?
It's the reason I did it. I was losing my mind with all that fluff. I thought, what could I do to go the other way?
I
found the way. No, it was an opportunity to do it. I'd never done a character like that. It was an FBI profiler, so I visited the FBI in LA and got some training and went through all the courses and the shooting range and the whole thing, and I had to really kind of pass that test. So it was actors thrive on doing things they've never done before. It's exciting to us, and I'd never done anything like that before, so that's why I wanted to do it. I liked Darren when I met him, and I thought he was smart, and he had good energy and a good vision for the 3 films that I was going to be a part of. And then I watched the films, and Shawnee's performance and Tobin's performance just impressed the hell out of me. And Shawnee and I shared a manager at one point early in our careers. And do you still have your rock band? Because she's an excellent singer, front woman, what a great.
I didn't know you played the guitar like that. I saw earlier today.
I've been playing a little bit since I was 15. It's all sort of daddy angst, so it comes out like that.
Well, I play in the basement now with my children.
And my son is in my band. He plays the plastic Tyrannosaurus Rex. He takes it apart and puts it together. But no, that's the reason. It was to work with these actors and to do something completely different and to do a character that I'd never done before. It's fun.
There you go. Hi, so I have a follow-up to that last question. Scott, which fan base is more intense? The Saw fans or the Gilmore Girls fans?
You know what? They're equal. It's equal. You'd be surprised. Gilmore Girls fans are so passionate, and I don't know that I'm such a main part of the Saw franchise. I did the 2 films, but I was a bigger part of Gilmore. So the reaction is it's a little more intense with Gilmore because it all kind of hooks into when they were younger, and it's been 20 years, and it means so much to them. It's such a safe haven, for them. And they revisit it often, and Saw has the same kind of, but I think it gives,
Hey, confines are confines.
But I do think Saw fans find safety in that they're going to get a quality experience because they like being scared. And I don't think it's being scared that they like so much, it's the relief that comes after. It's just a little addiction kind of a thing. Yeah, it's a different experience, but it's pretty intense. You've got, my fantasy is to have a Saw fan and a Gilmore fan meet at one of these conventions and actually hook up and get married, have kids. That'd be interesting.
Okay, you guys are just a really good-looking group of people up there. This is actually just a request. Scott and Sean, can you just stand up and blow a kiss over to my sister-in-law here because she is in love with you guys. We just need to.
Where's your sister?
Right there. We just need you guys to stand up and just.
Bring her up here. I'll fucking make out with her. To fucking around.
Okay. I believe that it's my turn now.
Just so you know, buddy, I planted my flag on that moon.
Well, this took a turn. Okay.
All right. So I was wondering, as a chronic pain sufferer, the message throughout the series that really resonated with me was about the healthcare system and how it fails people. Especially the scene with John Kramer in the insurance office, and they have this kind of back and forth, and it's such a reality for so many people that it hit me really strongly. I was wondering for each of you if there's a message within the series that particularly resonated with you.
You're not going to ask Tobin to kiss you?
The message that seems to resonate most strongly with so many people has to do with cherishing your life and taking time to be grateful for the many blessings that we have, that we take for granted. That takes work. The difficulties and negative things in our life, they don't need our help to penetrate into our consciousness and our being to give us pain. But the things that could give us more joy do require us to work a little bit and to give them the time to let them affect our feelings. And that is a subliminal message in the Saw films, whether you call it appreciating your life or being grateful. That probably is the most important message. There's one more. You may not agree with what John does, but so many of us complain about things, you know, whether it's politics or climate change or, and we do nothing about it. Whether you agree with him or not, he takes action and does something. So there's another subliminal message. Do something. Don't just think about it or complain.
Good answer.
Hi, over here. I don't want to guess, but Tobin, Tobin, there are news reports that you might or might not be involved with the Chris Rock Saw movie that's coming out possibly next year. If you can say anything about it, it'd be nice to know. If not, then you can't talk about it. I don't know.
I can't really say anything about it because I know very little about it. But I can tell you that if Chris has something that he wants to do that relates to a Saw film, I suspect it'll be amazing. The whole thing is in process, and I just have to leave it at that. There's always a lot of mystery attached to the Saw films, and this one's not going to be different in that way.
All right, so we have time for one last question. So please be good.
Yeah, no pressure at all. Huge fan, been watching Saw since I was 16, so 12 years now. And this question is for Tobin. The whole time I was watching the Saw series, the one thing that I was always curious about was Dr. Gordon's story. So I didn't know what your opinion on it was about him actually being involved with your whole journey throughout the entire series and all your tracks, even after you were gone.
Boring.
No, I'm totally kidding.
You were my second favorite friend. Second favorite.
The Saw series of films was a constantly evolving equation, and the presence of Dr. Gordon in a couple of them. I mean, if you look at Saw 1, there was a fulcrum, but there was a seesaw going on there with Lee at one side and Dr. Gordon at the other, and this guy in the middle. And Cary always played a very important part in getting this story off the ground. And yeah, he's a fascinating character. He certainly was deeply involved in John's life at that stage of the game. And I think John went through a couple of different phases of cancer. And Dr. Gordon was pivotal in that part of John's life. And so I'm fascinated by the Dr. Gordon character, and I was happy when he was able to make an appearance in Saw 3D, which I think was number 7. And play the Sean Patrick Kent Flannery theme song, please. So Dr. Gordon's a great guy, great guy.
Okay, so I'm gonna allow one more question here before we wrap this up because he's being very nice and begging. So here you go.
Yes, I was. So this actually is for the characters, speaking to the characters of John Kramer and Amanda. Both characters figure very prominently in a course back in my medical school that teaches and trains physicians about forensic psychiatry, albeit through fictional characters. My question is, to what extent did you gain, or even the scriptwriters gain, any prep? Because there is a very fair degree of diagnostic accuracy toward developing those characters and their personalities.
A degree of what? I think I need a degree to understand that.
Just prep work with regard to the characters, given the diagnostic accuracy of the different illnesses.
Oh, diagnostic.
Yeah.
I can tell you, I still have this book, and it's filled with notes, but when I really understood Amanda, it was this book called, and I don't even remember how I came across it, it was called A Bright Red Scream. And it was about cutters and borderline, you know, that terror of being abandoned. And I cannot remember how I came across that book, but man, that's when I really understood her. And I have that book, and I wrote all kinds of notes. But I thought that might interest you because it was definitely, I can see why it would be a topic.
Because you're a fucking smarty.
In your fancy medical school.
You sounded pretty smart.
I bet you're a dangler.
All right, everybody, I want to thank you for coming for the SAW panel. That was